All right, bang, bang. Week 1 is in the books, and what a week the NFL was for us at DFS Dads community. The community has grown a lot over the last week. It does help when we hit big, 5 figures for us all. So it was a great Sunday on the main slate for your boy. I was at 200K first place in the $5 entry with, I don't know, 200,000 people in it for all of the end of the early slate and about an hour into the afternoon slate, and dropped down to 6th place. Got 10K, but it was a wild ride. It was fun. So here we are on week 2. We got some new people, and if you have joined, I've sent you a Slack invite. There's I think 2 or 3 people that still have not accepted the Slack and joined the community. We're a small little army here that is here to answer all of your questions, improve your DFS cash and GPP plays, and have some fun. So week two, here we are. Any thoughts on week 1? A couple of takeaways before we jump in.
I mean, hell of a week 1 for us. Obviously, we all did great. I think I had one showdown where I didn't cash, but every other entry I made money. So great week 1. Let's keep it rolling week 2. I wish my Cowboys had won, but we'll see.
So Price, talk to us about. So Price had his big hit was the early slate, which could have been even bigger. I think you had 3,000 on it. But what happened to you there?
It would have been so big, but I, for some reason, decided to use Mark Ingram because I was under the impression that he'd get the touches for the first couple of games, and then they transitioned to J.K. Dobbins. But I mean, they both sucked. I mean, Ingram had 10 rushes for 29 yards, and Dobbins had 7 for 20. So 3 yards of carry, but Dobbins got both touchdowns. So I got 2.9 points from Ingram. Then I had Marlon Mack, who ruptured his Achilles when he was on pace to have a monster game. I think he was at like 9 points already in the beginning of the second quarter.
Yep.
Just destroying the Jaguars, and then he goes out. So I get 10 points from those 2 guys combined. It should have been a monster morning. But, I mean, considering I woke up and was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'll just throw $60 in the early slate and see what happens. You can't really complain about making $3,000 off that.
No, you cannot complain about that at all.
And then I had some runners in the main slate, but I went all in on Eckler and Mixon, who didn't do shit. The Mixon fumble cost me $1,000 on Yahoo. And then the fucking kicker missed a 20-yard field goal because he pulled his calf. Except he said he pulled his right calf, and then they listed he pulled his left calf the next day. So he just fucking missed the kick. It sucks.
Yeah, Price, I know you're a huge Eckler guy. Are you concerned? Any takeaways of concern going forward with using him?
Yeah, he only had 1 target.
Yeah, like what's the deal with that?
I don't know. And Lynn came out and said that they're not going to like overuse him, but they're going to get more involved. It's like, he's your fucking best running back.
They said they weren't going to use him in the way he's been used in the past, as far as the short catches, more pass protection, this and that. I'm like, the dude was a 1,000-yard receiver and was dynamic. Why the hell would you do that? But
it would have been nice if Anthony Lynn had said that like 2 weeks ago before I fucking drafted him in our season longs. But
I mean, he still had a good game on the ground. He just didn't get a touchdown.
And the catches will come.
Yeah.
Because he's playing with 3 guys who are super injury prone, and Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and Hunter Henry. So whenever one of them goes down, which is going to happen, he's going to be more involved. Hopefully at that point his price keeps dropping. Yeah. Because he was 7K last week, 6,500 this week. So if he keeps going down, eventually he's going to be priced correctly where he's still going to hit value.
Yeah. The Phillip Rivers, though, talk about liking to get his running backs involved in the passing game. John Taylor just looks phenomenal moving forward, and his price this week. We'll get in running backs, but maybe Eckler, he doesn't have that different quarterback this year. Maybe they'll like check it down. Same thing with McCaffrey. He only had, I think, 4 targets last week. I'm not concerned. I mean, he's still going to get his points, but price at 10K and not getting the targets on DraftKings is a minor alarm. Yeah. So, but no, I think week one had a lot of takeaways, and it played out kind of like I mean, obviously since we all hit in all of our picks, except for one of the Millie makers, because I think there's multiple of them because the contests have been so lit on DraftKings. The second place guy took a 0 at his tight end position. It's the tight end that I preached all week, the Packers tight end, but 0 points. Still got second in the Millie maker. I mean, if he just had one catch, he won $1 million. So that hurts. And I mean, I'm sure if he took that play because of my recommendation, we would have definitely heard about that. But so I don't think it was from us. Luckily, I would have felt so bad. Felt so bad.
I was still yelling at you about it though.
Yeah. Well, I ended up going off him because I had some more salary, and so I was able to move up and tight end and get TJ, who scored that one touchdown. But he didn't play. He only played about 60% of the snaps, I believe. So that was a little. I mean, I know they're worried about his injuries, but anyway. So we can go on and on about week one and the takeaways. But let's get down to week two. Let's start with the quarterbacks. I'll start breaking down a high tier, medium tier, and a low tier, and then we'll get Price involved, and then Dustin. This top range, once again, Lamar Jackson, you can't go wrong there. 8,200. I like to personally go. I'm going to go down. I'm going to go down once again this week. The higher tier. Last week I liked Matty Ice. He had a great game. You paired him with Calvin Ridley. They were behind all game long, and they're going to be behind a lot this year. Playing against Dallas. I like Matt Ryan at this spot because also his price, his savings from a Lamar Jackson. Of course, I love Lamar. Of course, I do. But you're getting the savings there. I like, once again, the pairing of Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. I don't think that's bad. All these top-tier quarterbacks, there's a reason for it. But if I was going to choose one, that stands out to me is Matt Ryan because I am able to use that savings elsewhere. And I think who is going to be the chalkiest play of the slate is Kyler Murray. His price point at 6,100 is a steal. Yes, he's going against that vaunted Washington front seven. Vaunted because they draft nothing but Alabama players. So that's going to be tough on him. But, I mean, he looked good week one. He's going to bring the rushing yards. And at 6,100 for cash, Kyler Murray is my favorite go-to guy, at least so far in the week. They obviously can change. It's only as we're filming this Wednesday night, but that's where I'm at that mid tier. I mean, 6,100 is borderline mid tier, but I still think that's pretty mid tier if you don't say so myself. And bottom tier guys, last week I was all about Mitch Trubisky, and he shows you flashes just like last week. He had a couple of really good throws. But at the same time, he sucks throughout most of the game. Still got me 25 fantasy points. So he cashed me in every single lineup. He was my main quarterback play that I had last week. Had a little bit of Matt Ryan, and then for my big money, I ended up having Russell Wilson and paired him with DK. But Mitch at 5,500, really good play again against the New York Giants. He definitely score some points there. And kind of the sleeper who I kind of like, but I think really when I hit submit, because I don't just max inner lineups. I usually have 2 or 3. Gardner Minshew, I like. I have some. He's making my final list of players and builds, but I think he's going to end up not making it. So that's kind of where I'm at with the quarterbacks. And what about you, Price? What do you think about those from Matt Ryan to Kyler Murray, mid range and lower tier of Mitch? What do you think about that, and where are you leaning towards?
I mean, valid point with Matt Ryan. They're going to be behind. Their defense sucks. Gurley's a mediocre running back at this point, so they're going to throw the ton. I mean, he threw for 450 yards last week. He's got Ridley and Julio. They added Hurst. Russell Gage had a good week. So he's got the weapons to throw to. I think he can't really go wrong. I don't think Kyler will be the chalkiest. I think he'll be fairly high owned in cash, though, which, I mean, he got the rushing upside. He's just so damn fast. And I think I saw he had like 13 rushes or 15 rushes, and he got tackled one time. So he either slid or got out of bounds, and no one touched him every time. So he escapes, and he knows how to take care of his body. I do like the Trubisky call. The only problem is the Lions secondary was depleted. They were missing their stud rookie, and then the next two corners also got hurt and left the game. So
That's a good thing, right?
But that might have inflated his numbers to in that game.
Yeah.
So now Big Ben did just pick the Giants defense apart, and the Giants defense is not very good. Besides, I guess, Jabril Peppers back there and Blake Martinez at linebacker. But other than that, I would say cheap play. I'd go golf instead, personally. I wanted to click Tyrod Taylor, but he just looks so bad last week.
Awful. He looks awful.
Terrible. Him and Cousins.
You got to feel bad for his receivers, right? Oh, my gosh. How do you pick any of his receivers?
Yeah. I think it was Mike Williams had 9 targets, like 7 downfield, and only like 4 were catchable. So it kind of sucks for him. I think the highest owned quarterback's going to be Dak. I love Dak this week. This is the most lineups I've ever had for NFL. Now, it did help that I got 5 free entries into shit from last week. But I have 7 lineups. I usually run 1 to 2. I love this week. I see all these games I like. Love Dak, love Rodgers. I have one with Kyler. I'm going to play one with Lamar. I'm a huge Texans fan, but he's going to fucking light us up. You can't stop him. But I think if I had to rank it, it'd be Dak 1, Rodgers 2, Lamar, and then Josh Allen. Those would be the 4. I don't really want to drop down below them. I'll do one with Kyler just because he's cool. I like to watch him play. But Josh Allen actually projects to have the second best matchup for the main slate. So I would say Dak and then him would be the 2 I go. And then we talked about last week with Aaron Rodgers being pissed off they drafted his replacement, didn't help him. So I think he's going to come out on fire all year and then leave Green Bay. Yeah. So it could be one of those last rodeo kind of seasons where he just lights everybody up.
Is there a player price before we get to Dustin that you would say this is the quarterback I'm just going to completely fade this guy?
Yes, Mahomes. He's 7,700, but the Chargers' defensive line is really good. They showed, I know the Bengals' offensive line isn't great, but I mean Bosa and Ingram were getting in there and just lighting Burrow up.
Yeah.
And I think they have the ability to at least slow down the Tyreek and Sammy because they have a great secondary. They added Chris Harris in the offseason, and they already have good corners. Obviously, they're missing Derwin James, but I do think that they'll give Mahomes problems.
Sure. Where you at? Where are you at, Dustin? What's the one thing I know we've recapped a lot here, but what's the one takeaway that you have from the quarterback position this week?
Yeah, obviously being a Cowboys homer, I like Dak. He has tons of weapons, and again going up against Atlanta, who's a leaky, whatever you want to call it, but they're going to give up points. Mari had kind of a down week. I just look for him to have a big week as well. He is kind of pricey this week, but I like golf as well in the lower end range. He had a good game versus the Cowboys. He just didn't score any touchdowns. He had the 1 pick, but I think he threw for 280 yards. And I just like him at that price point that he's at this week. And I think he can going up against Philly. We know their struggles on offense with their injuries. I just feel like that's going to translate into a lot of opportunities. And, when we get to receivers, I obviously like Woods this week for many reasons. But quarterback's kind of tough. It's been the toughest one for me this week just because I don't want to spend a ton because I want to go heavy on running backs. But so that's kind of why I like golf at his price point. But, obviously the top end guys, Dak, even, Phillip Rivers. I mean, the guy threw for, I forget how many yards last week, but, he was still slinging it.
Paris Campbell, baby, sub 340.
Paris Campbell, Hilton, Doyle, who we liked last week, didn't really perform. He was just getting the ball to like anybody that would. I mean, I think like 8 receivers had catches. So, but he's a guy that's if they get behind, he could throw for 370 yards and a couple touchdowns. So, a lot of value this week. I think kind of at some of those lower end guys that might pop off, but I haven't really decided if I'm going to go top heavy or lower end.
Yeah, it's a tough question. And what you got to tell us, who's the girl that you have in that background?
Oh, she's seeable. Yeah, that's my wife's mannequin. And sorry guys, I'm moving literally in a couple days, so I'm
No, it's fine. Is that your side chick?
Yeah. Don't tell my wife; she might watch it. But no, in all seriousness, I'm doing this from my phone, internet. We're moving all this stuff. So,
what's her name?
Yeah, I'll leave that up to you to name.
All right, you put in the chat. If we get a good creative name in the chat, we'll bless somebody up with something. So we'll have fun in the comment section below.
Yeah, just for background information, my wife designed.
No, it's over with. It's fine. We understand. There's no background. It's your side boo. We just got to get a name for her. That's all.
Whatever.
Each their own.
All right, so let's go to running back. As y'all are pondering in the comment section what you should write as the side chick for Dustin here. So up top, once again, 10K C-Mac. So Christian McCaffrey is I love in all cash, in all formats really, right? But this year, week 1, he only had 4 targets, I believe. And that's a little worrisome. That's a little alarming. I mean, he still had 2 touchdowns. He's going to do his thing. But 10K and in this slate this week, I absolutely love the running backs. If you know me, which hopefully you'll start to understand, I love playing 3 running backs. So 2 running backs and my flex. And this week, there are 3 running backs that I am hammering in pretty much every single contest I'm entering. And that is going to be 2 high-end guys and then someone who I think is priced absolutely tremendous with John Taylor down at, I think, was it 5,700? But up top, I'm not going to get C-Mac. I'm not going to get Saquon, but then Zeke. This is why when I say my top-end quarterbacks, I did not pick Dak Attack is because I don't want to pair Dak and Zeke. And so I'm going to pick Zeke at the running back position against Atlanta, a poor Atlanta defense. They're going to be playing from ahead, and I am predicting Zeke. They're going to feed Zeke all day long, and he looked really good week 1. He looked – I mean – he still has got that belly, but I'm telling you, man, that he just looked like a man, even though he's been paid, that wants to play some football.
So is that tattoo?
Yeah, that tattoo, man. Ugh.
I mean,
when he's 40, that tattoo.
It's going to look bad when his body composition is like ours.
Especially yours.
Yeah.
The next up running back is right below him. But he's 300 less. So if you only want to play top in running back, which honestly this week I suggest you play 2 of them because this second one is just as good. Derrick Henry, he's running more routes as like a wide receiver option this year, at least in week 1. Week 1, his game was really sloppy, but he still just carried the ball. He's going to carry this whole offense. And going against Jacksonville, who – with Gardner Minshew is going to put up some points. So Derrick Henry did not find the end zone as much as I wanted. I literally, in our season-long league that we're in, I lost high points for the week by 0.6 points. And I had Derrick Henry right there at the goal line instead of getting him in the end zone. I think they passed the ball and did not get him in the end zone. So I was very frustrated with that. That was the only down thing that happened last week. But Derrick Henry and Zeke, I believe, are the 2 running backs that you should target on this higher end. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be a stud, but he's already priced way up there. So I'm going to pass on that. And I like the savings with Zeke and Henry over Christian McCaffrey is the 2 that I'm going to target, and I'm targeting them very heavy. And then once again, down below, there's some plays you can say in that mid-range that's pretty good, but for savings and for my flex position, Mr. Taylor, Mac is hurt. Taylor caught, I think he had 6 targets and he had 6 receptions. I could be wrong on that by a reception or so. But he is a freak. A lot of people are in the DFS world are saying he is the Saquon Barkley with his measurables. So with that said, and his new quarterback who loves Phillip Rivers loves throwing to his running backs, and you saw that in week 1. He's now the starter. Marlon Mack is out, but that's good for our boy Taylor, and he's very well priced. That Taylor, I feel like if you don't have him in your lineup, you're missing out. Even if you don't have him in your flex, like I'm going to have him, you just have him as one of the running back positions. I think that's almost a slam dunk play, and that could come back and bite me. But the only issue with playing Taylor is that I really like Paris Campbell once again this week. I think his measurable sub 4.340 or 4.440, so he runs around 4.3 and he came alive in week 1. You can see the chemistry from him and the quarterback, and so I want to play him as well. But I'm not going to play both unless it's a cash lineup. So that's my only knock against Taylor is I really like Paris Campbell when we get to the wide receivers, and his price at the wide receiver position is great. So that's where I'm at with running back. That's my breakdown. I'm trying to narrow it down and not go over everybody for you. Where are you at, Price or Dustin? Take it away.
You can go first, Dustin.
Yeah, for running backs, I mean, obviously Cowboy guy. I love Zeke this week. He is a little pricey, so sometimes it's hard to fit him in. Derrick Henry, obviously, a beast, and going against a Jacksonville team that he should just run over. I do like the Mostart. I think San Francisco. I mean, Garoppolo hasn't been throwing the ball very well. Their line has an advantage this week. Just kind of hard to trust San Francisco running backs, man. I mean, because you don't know which one's going to go off, and throw Jerick McKinnon in there, and so it's hard. So kind of tough backfield to pick from. Obviously Taylor being named starter, being priced low. I just think he's going to be so high owned. Obviously couldn't cash. If you're throwing a GPP out there, might try to fade him and hope he has a dud or Hines goes off or something of that nature. I like Cook. He's one of those 3-down backs that's gonna, get all the play, and that's the kind of guys you want to draft that are going to get catches. They're going to get goal line carries. So he could easily, pay off. It's just Minnesota's. I mean, damn, how bad did Cousins look that first half? I was like, I think he had 5 passes, and they had I don't even know how many yards they had, but it was terrible. Thankfully, Green Bay was whipping their butt and played some slack defense and got Thielen, some catches. But Aaron Jones again for Green Bay, same type of workhorse. I know Jamal Williams gets some work in there, but any type of goal line carries, it's usually going to be him. Obviously, Snell, if Connor isn't able to go, looked great. What do you have, 109 rushing yards or something like that? And in a high-powered offense, he just doesn't catch the ball as well as you would maybe want, but he's lower priced, so you can kind of get away with that. And, Gurley in a plus matchup with the high-scoring offense last week, 14 points. I don't like his price point so much at 6,100, but the upside's there with how much scoring should be done in that game. So I think, he gets 1 touchdown. I think he only had a couple catches last game, which is kind of, out of the ordinary from what we're used to from him. So depending on how that looks, maybe this next game he gets 5 or 6 catches, and then, it's kind of back to normal. So I think running back is for me this week, I'm going all in at the top and then probably one lower guy in my flex. But Zeke and Henry are my top 2.
Yeah. What about David Johnson, Price? You're a big Houston fan. It looks like he's getting used kind of like a few years ago under Bruce Arians as a receiver. And he's
Duke's
not
out
hurt
this
yet.
week.
Yeah.
That is going to be my pivot off of Jonathan Taylor. So last week, the Browns, even getting the shit beat out of them, averaged 5.8 yards per rush. So now David Johnson gets that going up against the same defense that just got run all over without Duke Johnson.
Yeah, there's no backup, really.
So I'll take that all fucking day. I mean, obviously, everyone's going to be on Zeke. Everyone's going to be on Henry. So where you got to differentiate yourself is somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Because David Johnson's going to be super low owned. Taylor's going to be very high owned. The other people I'm looking at, I'm with you on Snell. If Connor's out, Snell's lock and load. And I like Robinson at 4,400. I'd rather play cheap guys here because I think everyone's going to pay up at running back. So I'm okay with, going David Johnson and James Robinson and even Jonathan Taylor. So you use those three, skip the top end, and then I can go pick whatever receivers I want.
Yeah.
And that's going to be like a zig where people zag.
Yeah.
But if Connor is out, I think you have to really look at Benny Snell, especially in this matchup because Denver's defense is banged up. I mean, just think about it. If he's out, you can play Snell, Robinson, and Taylor. And you spent, what, 44, 9? So
yeah, you got a lot of money.
16,000 there. You can do whatever you want. You have 3 top-end receivers, a top quarterback, and then even a good flex.
I think that's a great GPP line play.
And for those of you who don't know, I play pretty much 90% tournaments. I'll very rarely play cash because I'm go for the big hit. I'm the crazy motherfucker here.
He likes the adrenaline.
Who wants to double their $5?
Not this guy. I want to turn the
guy
5
with the
into 10,000. But obviously, if you got to rank them, Zeke's 1, Henry's 2. But I like the Dalvin Cook would be a good pivot off of them as well. I don't think he'll be very high owned. It is kind of a tough matchup because Indy's a pretty good defense. But him and Aaron Jones would be the 2 I'd go to if you're not going to touch Elliott or Henry on top.
Do you think that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is jumped up just a little too much too quickly?
Yes. He had a good first week, but how many targets did he have?
Yeah. For sure. And, he's going to do good. He's going to be great. And I would love him at Jonathan Taylor's price, $5,700. But he's not there. And I understand it was the primetime game, the first game, Thursday night, and he just lit it up on fire.
I disagree a little bit.
Too.
I disagree a little bit because he's in that offense, right? You got Tyreek, you got Kelsey, you got Sammy Watkins, you got the
Hardman. He goes on.
I mean, and so it's like you got to pick your poison, and you got a rookie running back, and the guy. I mean, he's a 3-down back, pretty much right out the gate. I mean, he gets spelled a little bit, but they didn't throw it to him because they didn't have to. You look at Kelsey the first half, 5 catches, touchdown, and then the second half, I don't think he had 1 catch or something because they just weren't throwing the ball because they were whooping their butt. And so that's why he probably didn't have any catches. I mean, obviously 0 is a little worrisome, but 1 week is too quick to judge about how he's going to be used in the passing game. So,
yeah.
I like to see this week and see kind of, how that trends. If he gets 0 again, okay, yeah, then we can worry a little bit. But he's too good of an athlete in playing all those downs with the dynamic offense. I mean, I think he's fine.
Yeah.
Also,
he's definitely fine.
Big FU to the beat writers who said that fucking Darrell Williams and him are in a 50-50 timeshare, and Darrell get the goal line carries.
Yeah. We took your advice on the showdown.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're also the beat writers who said Mike Williams would be out for 3 to 4 weeks with his shoulder, and he led his fucking team in targets.
Yeah.
So a lot of shitty reporting by the beat writers last week. But now we got to go to the fun range where it's all these receivers to pick from. You got to narrow it down to 3, if not 4.
Have fun, Dustin.
I mean, look, last week my receivers were freaking money. I was all in on Adams. Here's the thing.
I gotta thank you, Dustin. You convinced me to play Adams in the flex, and it won me $10,000 from $5 entry. My man.
Here's the thing, right? You look back at the deep dive from last week. I think it was Adams, Ridley, Thielen, and McLaurin or something like that. And guess who I played? I mean, obviously I had Adams in every lineup, but I played McLaurin, who, I mean, he had a decent game, but not as well as freaking Ridley and Thielen both had 2 touchdowns. So I was kicking myself a little bit, even though, you can't play. I mean, I guess you could play 4, but I went another running back. So,
do you think I can pause you and you could tell us a quick story about what your wife said about playing $200 instead of?
Yeah. So I'm the.
This is a hilarious story. It has.
I'm the chief dad of the group, and I try to play $50, $60 a week. My wife stays at home, so. I have as much expendable cash to just throw in, and I play mainly double ups. And so Chris is texting me on Sunday, and my wife and his wife are friends. And, needless to say, Chris sends a screenshot. It's like he's winning 200,000. And my wife's like, "Is this real? Are y'all doing something illegal?" And I'm like, "No, I mean, he's literally winning that right now." So at the end of the day, Chris wins $14,000, I think, golf, NFL. And she goes, "Well, why didn't you win that much money?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "I play $50 to $60 a week and mainly double ups." And so it's just funny because my wife has no idea, kind of how this works, but she's seeing my buddy over here win $14,000 and wondering why I didn't. So I might go all in this week, and then she can get mad at me when I lose all our money.
Mortgage, take out a loan on the house.
Second mortgage, baby.
Yeah. The funniest part is if you don't follow us on Facebook, the DFS Dads, she's always hitting the like button. So we always say that she's complicit in any crime if DFS is illegal. So my wife is the same. They're just so clueless. She's like, "Wait, is this real money?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, you should do that every week." I'm like, "Yeah, it's not that."
Yeah. Your wife was happy last week.
Oh yeah, sure. She was. I said it comes with some expectations when you make that kind of money in one weekend.
That's true.
All right.
And I helped you do it, buddy.
Yeah. Hey,
yeah.
Man.
So to this week, I'm really high on Julio, 12 targets.
Julio.
Obviously 9 for like 160. He actually went down in price, which is ridiculous. And going against a Dallas defense who, unfortunately, the secondary is not super great. And I think Dallas is going to score often, and Atlanta thrives in coming back, chunking the ball. And obviously Julio's a freak. So I really like Julio, 7,400. He's gonna go off. If he gets touchdowns, that's when he really booms, right? I mean, the dude has been plagued by touchdowns his whole career. So I look for Julio to have the same type of game, maybe get a touchdown, dominate. I also like Thielen again this week, mainly because Cousins doesn't have anybody else to throw to. I mean, his tight ends kind of getting old, has been irrelevant for many years. They lost Diggs, and they have a decent matchup this week. And I think that, he's gonna pay off. More of a cash play, I think, than a GPP. But Robert Woods also went down, had 10 targets, had 8 catches for
like 115 yards or something.
Yeah, 115 yards. Didn't have a touchdown, but you throw a touchdown in there. I mean, geez, like the dude's got probably the safest floor. You probably you used to say Edelman with Brady, but Woods is so safe that in a cash play, it just makes sense. And he's not overly priced, 6,400. He can get 130 yards and a touchdown. He also rushes. They give him 1 or 2 rushes a game. He busts one of those, I think he had 20 yards rushing last game, so it's an extra 2 points. my favorite play of the week, and I've been talking it up since last week. We had him in the showdown, Deontay Johnson. The dude is 4,500 in DK. He had 10 targets, has a 29% target rate per route, which is higher than any of those three guys I just listed. Julio, Thielen, Woods, right? And they just lost probably Connor, so they're probably going to throw it a little bit more. And he's a second-year guy that's coming into his own. Obviously, Big Ben was out last year, and he's still throwing it to him 10 times the first game. I just think there's nothing but upside there. He's way undervalued here. If you tell me you can get a guy at 4,500 that's going to get you minimum, 6 catches for 60 yards, I'm all in on that. Plus, he has a lot more upside. I think that's his floor. So all in on Deontay Johnson this week. Value play where you can gain leverage elsewhere. If you want to go high running back or you want to go high-end receivers. So
that's some good plays there. And my man Dustin, week 1, if you replicate that again this week, we're gonna be making some good money again.
Fingers crossed, man.
Yeah. So I'll briefly touch on wide receivers, but I'll let Price jump into it. But I really like the lower end receivers this week. I know when we were touched on the running backs, y'all said some of the lower end guys like the Pittsburgh running back. A lot of people were on Barton Scott for Philly and those Phillies running backs after Miles Sanders went out, and they were duds, right? They were high ownership, and they were duds. And so for me personally, I feel like paying up for a Zeke and Henry, they're instant 20 points no matter what. And so I really like the higher end running backs because Paris Campbell, Trent Taylor for San Francisco, I think can be a bombshell at 3,700, especially cash. Even if you get 0 from 3,700 in a cash, and you have 3 stud running backs, a good quarterback, you should be cashing no matter what. I feel like not no matter what, nothing's automatic, but I think
he's
Trent
not
Taylor,
getting 0 though.
Yeah, but even if he gives you 0, you can still cash in cash. So in tournaments, Trent Taylor is a little iffy for me, but with likes of Paris Campbell, Johnson from Pittsburgh that Dustin broke down, I love those lower end tier ranges receivers, and obviously Devontae Adams and on the top and Julio are really good. The one thing I would say I'm personally steering away from. Calvin made me lots of money last week. He's an Alabama guy, Alabama receiver, so I love Calvin more than anybody on this call, but his price jumped really high, and I think Julio is a better value there to pair with Matty Ice. If you're going to go that route, I would rather just pay it for someone like Julio as opposed to paying, I think, $6,800 for Calvin. So that's kind of my take this week on the receivers. It's a little bit harder this week, and I think Dustin does a great job to break down the receivers. But that's where I stand. I like some of the lower end guys, which will allow me to have guaranteed points up top with the running backs this week.
What do you think, P?
So to kind of really dive into it, there's a couple cheap guys I like. Miller for Tampa with Godwin banged up, Evans banged up with his hammy. He would be the biggest benefactor of them missing. So at 4,100, I think that'd be a safer play than Taylor. He's 800 more, so obviously it's quite a bit different price. But and then moving up to Christian Kirk at 4,300. I think he'll be fairly high on in cash because he shouldn't be 4,300. He didn't have a great week last week. I think he had 1 catch for 0 yards. But if you are a believer in air yards, he had 14 less air yards on his targets, and Hopkins had almost 15 targets. So they're obviously taking shots with him. You connect on one, that's 70-yard touchdown. That's 14 points for a $4,300 guy. He already hit value. I like your call on Paris Campbell. He had a really good start. He did kind of slow down towards the end of the game. I know y'all don't like him, but Keenan Allen at 5,700 just seems mispriced. I know Tyrod sucks, but you get an elite route runner at 5,700. He should average like 7 catches for 80 yards every single week. That should be his average.
Yeah, for sure.
On the top end, I mean, obviously, Adams, Julio, Thielen. I don't mind using Ridley if you're going to stack that game and you go, instead of using like Julio Cooper, you use Ridley Gallup. Like, that'd be a pretty contrarian way to attack that game, I think.
I really like the Gallup call this week for sure.
But I really like Amari Cooper. He had 14 targets last week, 10 catches. They don't have anyone who can cover him. So if you have him toasting that block, I want to play Cooper, Julio, and Dak. I want to attack this game through the air. I think it's going to be a lot of points scored. It should be the most popular game for a good reason. I love your call on Robert Woods. I think he is probably the safest. The 3 kind of flyer picks I'd look at, Allen Robinson. He's had kind of a rough week because he wants a big raise and they're not giving it to him. So he deletes all his Chicago Bears shit from social media, but now says, hey, I'm going to show up and play. So, he's their own option. He's a beast.
It's Mitchell's got to get him the ball.
I know. And then the 2, I think, sneaky plays would be Holiday Brown and Will Fuller.
Will Fuller, I like that one.
Because no one's going to play Will Fuller against the Ravens defense. But he got like 36% target share last week.
Yeah, something crazy.
And so if you believe that the Browns are going to get out in front, that the Ravens are going to get out in front, Will Fuller's going to have to get involved to catch back up. So they're going to throw the ball. And Hollywood's he's a home run hitter. So I'm going to have a lineup where I have Lamar, Hollywood, and Fuller in that game. I think that's kind of a route to go with those. I don't really like anybody else. I do absolutely love Deontay Johnson. As soon as we saw his pricing, all of us were like, what the hell? Like, how is he cheaper? He's cheaper than
CD.
So he was cheaper than CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Kendrick Bourne. Like, come on, guys. Come on.
How? I don't understand it. But I'll take it.
I'll take 10 targets for that 4,500. It's a free spot.
Yeah. I'm changing my lineup right now.
But then if you go into tight ends, so kind of the same thought process on using Hollywood is Mark Andrews up top for me at tight end.
The dude just catches touchdowns. That's all he does.
Cunningham's a decent coverage linebacker, but he's gonna eat us up. I can't really guard him. I don't like Hawkinson's price jump. That sucks because he was sneaky good last week. But we've talked about Hunter Henry at 5,100. Like, there's going to be value there because it looks like Tyrod's just going to check it over to him in the middle instead of giving it to Keenan, where you get 6 or 60.
Tyrod has loved the tight end since Clay when he was in Buffalo. I mean, it seemed like that's all the people he targets. So I like Hunter this week too.
I think most people will drop down to Logan Thomas just because he had like a 75% snap share and he led the team in targets and he's 3,600. And then obviously we like Herndon again this week. He had 7 targets? 8 targets?
Yeah. Let me look here. I think I wrote it down.
But the last guy who I would look at would be Noah Fant. He looked really good Monday night.
Yeah, he did. I had him in the showdown.
I think another sneaky play could be O.J. Howard because he was actually going out wide at the receiver a couple times.
Especially if the receivers are hurt.
And the receivers are hurt. And Tom Brady loves tight ends. And Gronk is not going to be getting the bulk share of targets at tight end position. And seeing O.J. Howard at the receiver spot and knowing what kind of athlete he is from at Alabama, and he's been underutilized his whole NFL career, he has the talent to break out. This could be his breakout year under Tom Brady. And he's still very fairly priced. I'm with you with Andrews, like of Kelsey, Kittle, Andrews. Andrews just stood out last week, and there's no reason why he won't stand out again this week. But personally, I like going down to what I believe, Price touched on it, which is the last year the Raiders tight end Waller came out and was just phenomenal every single week. That's where I feel Logan Thomas is going to be this year. Is this year's Darren Waller. His price point is still a great place, a great slot. So that's where I'm leaning towards this week. But everything Price said, I agree with different plays.
And he converted like quarterback or something.
Yes, I think he was a quarterback at Virginia Tech.
Yeah. And so he's got that athletic, type of body where he kind of presents matchup problems. And I think the more he gets involved, obviously because he hasn't been doing it his whole life, he's only going to get better. So I mean, I like that play too. Washington didn't have many options, right? I mean, and McLaurin and him basically are the two guys. So yeah, and I checked. Herndon did have 7 targets, caught 6 of them. Obviously not for a ton of yards, but I think I told y'all he had like a 36% target per route percentage. So which was almost the highest of any player, probably outside of Hopkins for the first week. So that's obviously going to translate into more yardage, more touchdowns. One receiver we didn't talk about was Crowder. I know me and Price talked earlier about him. The dude's just going to get volume, and look for another cheap play that's going to pay off. And if he gets a touchdown or 2, then obviously even better.
Yeah, I think he took a huge pass last week for a big touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, he had a great game. I think last season, week 1, he had a freaking monster game too. So
yeah, like 24 catches in the 2 games against the Bills last year.
Yeah, which is crazy. I like Waller. I know you kind of touched on him, Chris. He's got a great matchup, and obviously the Raiders at receiver, they got some younger guys, and I feel like he has a plus matchup this week. I really like him at 5,400. He's kind of middle tier. I think he can definitely put some big points up this week. Obviously, at the top, I'm a Kelsey guy. I freaking had him every year in our fantasy league except for this year. I think, if you're really looking for a real safe top-end guy, you look for him. The only problem with him is if the Chiefs blow him out, kind of like last week, where first half he was money, and then the second half they ran the ball more and didn't really worry about getting into the passing game. So those are kind of we're all kind of on the same path with the tight ends, I think. Heavy on Logan Thomas because of his price point and his upside, and then kind of some flyers here and there.
Yeah. I think what our big separator is, do we want to go high-end running backs or low-end running backs and then have the highest-end receivers? I think that's where we all kind of differ, and there's no right or wrong strategy there. It's just a strategy. No one knows how it's going to play out. We'll have to see on Sunday.
And they both could work.
For sure. Yeah. They both can. But let's get to the sexy picks, right? The defense. And I can't wait to see Price. Price has been hammering this defense the last 2 days talking about it. So I can't wait to get to it. But first, I want to go back down, all the way down to the 2K, the very, very, very bottom where the Redskins sat and were they the highest scores last week?
Yes, they were.
Yes, sir. And we were
all in on
our chest all week about it. All week, and it paid off. I hope y'all stuck with that pick as well and didn't have anything sway you. And this week, I am going back down to the 2K well, and I'm picking the Jets, the Jets, Jets. Why? They don't have the best defense. But the 49ers offense is banged up. And at 2K, it allows me to get to the other positions that I want to get at. And there's not a lot of point differential in these defenses. And so I'm pounding the 2K range once again. It probably won't pay off, but if it does, it could be monumental. Price. Let's hear your defense that you've been talking about in our chat and in the Slack for the last day.
All right. So last week, we called all in on the Redskins. For what reason?
The Eagles.
The Eagles' offensive line is trash. Who do the Rams play this week? The Eagles.
The Eagles.
And they're similar, right? Because their defensive fronts are both really good.
I want to know who the hell is going to stop Aaron Donald and Michael Brockers.
Nobody.
Aaron Donald is going to fucking murder Carson Wentz. He literally might get taken off the field for homicide.
Every single play he's going to do like what he did to Zeke, that one highlight where he just lifted Zeke up and popped him down. Oh, my gosh.
He's a fucking monster. He's not going to be stopped by this ragtag offensive line.
It's bad.
And then who do the Eagles have on offense? So, yeah, they have Ertz. So just slide Jalen Ramsey on Ertz.
They have a running back named Scott that everybody was on last week.
So Miles Sanders practiced in full today, but
yes,
soft tissue injury. He's coming back for his first real game, and he's going to get murdered in the hole by Aaron Donald.
No, he's not.
If you're not going to go them, I guess probably the Steelers defense. You got Drew Lock, who hasn't really, he throws some bad throws. He's going to turn the ball over. And how fucking good did the Steelers front seven look last week? I mean, they held Saquon to what? Like 10 yards rushing on 15 carries?
12, I think.
So I think that's a really good sneaky pick there. That's probably it, to be honest. Maybe the Bears against the Giants. That's about it. But I'm gonna be pretty much all in on the Rams, and then if I'm not using the Rams, I'm gonna pay for the Steelers.
What? So do you think it's a mistake going all the way down to the Jets?
So I mean, the theory behind it makes sense because you have a Niners team who has no offensive weapons that are healthy besides running backs. Because they have like 4 receivers on IR. Ayuk's hurt but coming back.
Garoppolo literally killed Kittle with his pass. Like that was a horrible pass.
So Kittle's hurt. So they don't really have any offensive weapons. Now the Jets defense is very, very mediocre.
Fair.
But I mean, let's say you get like a pick, 3 sacks, and the Niners aren't going to score a bunch of points. So, I mean, if you can get 9 points, 10 points out of them, that's a really good week for a $2,000 defense.
Yeah.
I just think the Rams defense are going to have 8 sacks. Wentz turns the ball over.
How many points are you predicting the Rams defense to give you?
I'm hoping to get 18 out of them.
Man, that's worth paying $800 more.
Yeah.
If you can get 18 points out of them.
I think they should be the highest scoring defense.
I mean, you gotta look at the Eagles. Their offensive line is just completely depleted. Their number 1 receiver is Deshaun Jackson. So, which means they got to get time to get him down the field, which ain't going to happen, right? So, I mean, outside of that, it's checked down to Ertz and Goddard. And, Goddard had a good game last game against Washington, but they still gave up 8 sacks, 2 interceptions. They should have had a pick 6. The Eagles are just a mess right now. And, especially against a good front 7 like the Rams, I mean, they're gonna create turnovers. They're gonna create sacks, and 3,800 I think is what they are. To get probably a minimum of 10 points. I mean, I'll take that all day. I also like Price said, love the Steelers. I mean, you're going against a second-year quarterback. Sutton may or may not be back, right? So there's not many weapons there. And the Broncos like to run the ball. Philip Lindsay is hurt and probably won't be back. And so it's all Melvin Gordon. Obviously Saquon's better than Gordon at this point in their career. So I just see it stifling the Broncos. Obviously they're 3,800, but kind of an upside defense. Hopefully get a a pick six or something like that. But they're not gonna cost you by any means. And so I like them. I like the Rams, and I think the Packers, depending on if Galladay plays. They played pretty good last week. Obviously, they kind of played saggy defense in the second half, whatever you want to call it, because they had such a decent lead. But I think against Detroit, who knows who the running back is, right? They're rotating 4 or 5 guys. It seems like Marvin Jones is the number one with Galladay out, who's fine, but he's not elite. I just think there's some upside there depending on if Galladay sits, because Stafford will turn it over once or twice.
For sure. I think for game stacks, the Dallas game is by far probably the most popular, and there's a ton of reason for that. I liked what Price said with the Houston and Ravens game being a stack, and I think for GPP flyer, using the Lamar Jackson and either Hollywood or Lamar and Mark Andrews, and then run it back with a Will Fuller. I do love that stack. So I might find myself entering in a lineup like that.
It's tied for the same over-under as the Cowboys-Falcons game.
Yeah. That's a great stack. I mean, that's appealing. That for cash game, I mean, you could, but for GPP, I love that.
For GPP, I think it's a really good route to take, because I don't think many people will go there, because you're either going to be like, all right, well, Lamar, they're going to blow him out, and so the receivers won't be involved. It'll be Lamar, and then that crazy backfield gets to decipher.
Yeah. And I think Will Fuller, too, he's a home run hitter. In week 1, he did all of his damage underneath. There's going to be some games this year he's going to get over the top of defense and just go ballistic. And it could be this one. You never know.
So free bet of the week is Rams at Pick'em.
Rams at a Pick'em. All right. That's actually really – you're convincing me, man. I'm changing everything. My lineups, my bet. I got it all going on now. All right. Well, we'll leave y'all with that. Go to if you've made it here this long and you haven't made a comment about Dustin's new boo over there, his new girlfriend, side chick, you need to leave a comment about that and let us know that you stayed till the end. And if you have not become a member, try us out for a week, for a month, whatever it is. We got a lot of good action from PGA and NFL is just full force right now. College football is picking up with our bets as well. So go to dfsstats.com. Once you become a member, you can join the Slack, and we are a small family that's growing. And what's nice about being small is we can answer any and all of your questions, and that's what we're here to do is make you some money. So let's have a good week too, and we'll see you on the Twitter and Slack atmosphere. See ya.